You power on a phone. Within seconds, it shows bars and you can open a browser. It feels instant, but connected is not a single switch flipping on. Between the moment the radio wakes up and the moment you have a usable path for data, a whole conversation has to finish. Registration, identity checks, session setup, acceptance, and finally a default bearer. Miss one step and the phone is not really on the network yet. This lecture walks that conversation from first principles using one concrete example, the initial attach procedure. We'll watch messages move left to right across the network, and after each stage, you'll be able to say in plain language what just became true that was not true before. Here's the question to hold on to. What has to happen between turning a device on and obtaining a usable network connection? Let's start with who is even in the room. 6 roles sit on the stage of this procedure. Think of them as a chain of responsibility, not a pile of acronyms. On the far left is the UE, the user equipment. That is the phone, the modem, the device that wants service. Next to it is the ENB, the base station. It is the radio front door. Everything the device says to the core network passes through here first. In the middle sits the MME, the mobility management entity. This is the brain for control signaling in this attached story. It does not carry your video stream, it decides whether you may attach, and it orchestrates the other boxes. Above and to the right is the HSS, the home subscriber server. It holds the subscription record, who you are allowed to be on this network. When the MME needs to know, is this subscriber valid and where should we track them, it asks the HSS. Farther right is the S/PGW, the Serving and Packet Data Network Gateways, drawn here as one combined node. This is where the user plane path is prepared, the tunnel that will eventually carry packets toward the internet or an operator network. And beside it, the PCRF, Policy and Charging Rules function. It is the policy desk. When a session is born, the gateway and the PCRF agree on how that session should be treated. 2 colors matter for the whole diagram. Blue arrows are control messages, signaling that sets things up. Red arrows are bearer data, non-GBR, the actual user plane path once a default bearer exists. Control first, data last. That separation is the whole plot. The story begins with a problem only the device can start. The network does not magically know a new phone just powered on. So the UE sends the first explicit registration step, 11 attach request toward the ENB, which will forward the NAS signaling toward the MME. Attach here is not a vague word for connect. It is the device saying, I want to register for EPS services, and I need a default path to a packet data network. Look at what rides inside that request in the example. The NAS message type marks it as an attach. The EPS attach type is initial EPS attach. First time in, not a handoff trick. The EPS mobile identity carries the IMSI, the permanent subscriber identity the network can look up. And nested inside is an ESM message container holding a PDN connectivity request. That last piece is easy to miss. The device is already asking for packet data network connectivity in the same breath as registration. So after this step, one thing is true that was not true a moment ago. The network has received a formal, identifiable ask to attach and to prepare a PDN session. Nothing is accepted yet. No bearer exists yet. But the conversation has a first sentence. In plain language, the phone has knocked, named itself, and asked for a data door, not just for a handshake. The attach request creates a new problem. The MME cannot invent subscriber truth out of thin air. It needs the home database. So the path morphs upward to the HSS. Step 1-2 is update location request and answer. The MME tells the HSS that this subscriber is now attaching under its care, and the HSS answers with the subscription data the MME needs to continue. Why update location, not login? Because in mobile networks, identity and place are tied together. The home system must know which MME is currently responsible, so later paging, authentication context, and service decisions point at the right control node. A common misconception is that attach is only between the phone and the base station. Visually, you can already see that is false. The radio hop was only the entrance. The real permission check runs in the core, between MME and HSS. After the answer returns, something new is true. The MME is no longer guessing. It has a grounded view of the subscriber and a recorded association in the HSS. Still no user plane tunnel, but the control plane now has the authority to build one. Plain restatement: before the network builds anything for you, it checks the home record and updates who is managing you. Armed with subscription context, the MME turns right toward the gateway. Step 1-3, create session request sent toward the S/PGW. This is the moment the network stops only talking about identity and starts preparing a session. The control plane object that will anchor addressing, charging anchors, and the future default bearer. Notice the order carefully. Creating a session is not the same as telling the phone you are attached. The gateway side has work to do. Allocate resources, coordinate with policy, and answer back. That answer is step 1-5, create session response, returning toward the MME. Why does the diagram number accept as 1-4 and the session response as 1-5, even though both are part of the same stretch of the story? Because multiple legs of the procedure run as a coordinated exchange. The MME is mid-orchestration. It has asked the gateway to create a session, and it will use the result when it speaks back to the device. Here is the misconception to kill early. Session created does not mean you can browse. It means the core has prepared the session context that a bearer can hang from. The phone has not yet been told the outcome in full, and the user plane red path is still not the hero of the frame. After request and response, what is newly true? The S/PGW and MME share a created session context. The connection is being prepared, not declared finished. Plain language: identity was checked, now the gateway has booked a seat for your traffic and sent the booking confirmation back to the control brain. Now the network speaks back toward the device. Step 1-4, attach accept, traveling from the MME side through the ENB to the UE. This is the sentence students often misread as the end of the story. Accept sounds final. It is not. Attach accept tells the UE that the attach request is accepted and delivers the parameters the device needs to continue, including information that lets it activate the default EPS bearer context on its side. But acceptance is a control plane decision delivered to the phone. The full procedure still needs the phone to confirm, the bearer to be modified on the gateway path, and the default bearer establishment to light up as a usable outcome. Watch the diagram's psychology. Blue control arrows are still doing the talking. The thick red default bearer line at the bottom is not yet the star. If you stopped the movie at attach accept, you would leave the student with a false confidence. I'm in. In protocol reality, you are accepted into a process that is still closing. So after this step, what is true? The device has been told yes, with the configuration it needs. What is not yet true? That every network side bearer tweak is done, and that the procedure has been acknowledged complete by the UE. Plain restatement: accept means the network has approved the attach and handed the phone its marching orders, not that the last bolt is already tightened. While the session world is forming on the right side of the diagram, another conversation appears. Step 1-6, PCAN session establishment between the gateway side and the PCRF. PCAN here is the Policy Association for the Access Network session, the place where what kind of session is this meets what rules apply. The PCRF does not replace the MME. It answers a different question. Given this subscriber and this session, which policy and charging rules should govern the bearer the gateway is preparing? This is where the legend becomes a teaching tool, not decoration. Blue remains control signaling, including this policy handshake. Red is bearer data, non-GBR, the eventual user plane path. Non-GBR means this default path is not a guaranteed bitrate pipe. It is the ordinary, always-on default bearer used for general connectivity, not a dedicated guaranteed stream for a special app. Why insert policy in the middle of attach at all? Because a default bearer is not only a tunnel, it is a tunnel with a treatment. Without policy binding, the gateway would be building a hollow pipe with no agreed rules. After PCAN session establishment, something new is true on the right side of the stage. The session is not only created between MME and gateway, it is bound to policy at the PCRF. Plain language, the network did not only open a seat, it also agreed how that seat should be treated when traffic finally rides it. The phone still has to close the loop. Step 1-7, attach complete from the UE back through the ENB toward the MME. This message is the device saying, I have received the accept, I have applied what I needed, and I am completing the attach. On the example diagram, this side is tied to activating the default EPS bearer context on the UE. That matters. Completion is not a polite thank you. It is the UE confirming that its local bearer context is up, but the core still has a refinement left. Step 1-8, modify bearer request and response between the MME and the S/PGW. Why modify after create? Because early session creation often happens before the network has final access details. For example, the precise user plane endpoints associated with the radio side. Modify bearer updates the gateway with the information needed so the user plane path matches reality. Create books the session. Modify aims the tunnel correctly. See the dependency chain the diagram insists on, accept to the phone, complete from the phone, then modify on the gateway leg. Swap that order in your head and the story breaks. The phone cannot honestly complete before it was accepted, and the gateway cannot finalize the bearer path before the control plane finishes its updates. After these two steps, what is newly true? Both ends have acknowledged the attach outcome and the gateway bearer context has been adjusted to match the live path. Plain restatement. The phone signs the paperwork and the network tweaks the tunnel so the paperwork matches the road. Only now does the diagram's payoff line deserve the spotlight. Step 1-9, default bearer establishment. The red path across the bottom, bearer data, non-GBR. Everything blue was scaffolding. The red line is the outcome students actually mean when they say the phone got data. A default bearer is the always-on EPS bearer created as part of attach, giving the UE a basic IP connectivity path through the gateway. It is default because it comes with the attach. You do not first attach into a void and later invent connectivity from nothing in this example flow. Morph the earlier arrows in your mind into this single result. Attach request named the desire. Update location grounded the subscriber. Create session built the core context. Attach accept told the device yes. PCAN bound policy. Attach complete closed the device side. Modify bearer aligned the gateway. Default bearer establishment is what all of that was for. 3 or 4 sentences for the whole argument. A device cannot use the network until control signaling registers it and checks the home subscriber record. The MME then creates a session at the gateway and returns accept toward the UE. Policy binds on the PCRF side, while the UE completes and the bearer is modified. Only then does the default bearer exist as a usable non-GBR data path. Zoom out one level in the field. This is why mobile systems separate the control plane from the user plane so fiercely. Signaling can be rich, stateful, and multi-node, while the data path stays a clean tunnel once the arguments are over. I'll leave you with one open question the same style of reasoning can attack next. What additional steps would be needed if this one default path were not enough? If an application needed a dedicated bearer with different quality rules on top of the default? That question is how attach grows into the rest of EPS bearer management.